Welcome back to another Big Gold Belt movie review. Today I'm bringing you a review from the Chicago International Film Festival. This film here also, early this year, played at the Sundance Film Festival. This one is called A Real Pain, and here's a quick synopsis. Mismatched cousins David and Benny tour Poland to honor their grandparents. Their adventure becomes complicated as old tensions resurface while exploring their family history. It is directed by Jesse Eisenberg, and it also stars Jesse Eisenberg as David and Kieran Culkin as Benji. Now, a real pain, and that's what it feels like at times when you're watching this film. Not in a bad way, in a very, very good way. As we are introduced at the airport of these two cousins, as they've lost their grandparents and they just want to go down the same track that their grandparents went down as a way to not only reconnect with each other, but reconnect with their family's history here. This is a road trip film. An odd one, but this is a road trip film. And it is set up that way as we get to these two cousins and we get to see just how different they are. Jesse's David is very buttoned up, collar up. He's the person who has all the plans humanly possible. And Karen's character, Benji, is just the one who just is flying by the seat of his pants. And as we're introduced to these cousins, we're also introduced to another group of tourists who are also on this trek with them. As it's not just the cousins on this trek, it's a group of people who are there just to explore this route that these people traveled on from one part of the world to the next. And with this group dynamic, the moment it kicks in, we get to see the cousins dynamic kick in here. It's obvious from the onset that the cousins love each other, but we understand also, one, Jesse's character is very buttoned up, very quiet. He's not necessarily stoic, but he's not someone who's going to tell you his opinions. While Benji is a person who just lets the world know exactly what he's feeling at any given time. And when we get introduced to them and we get introduced to them around this group of people, Benji comes across as rude. But even with him coming across as rude, it's endearing to everyone else because he's just so blatantly obvious. He wants to have a fun time. They get to these statues where Benji's like, man, take a picture of me. I want to take a picture with these statues. And everyone else on the tour is a little uptight until they see him having fun. And then all of them let loose. And we see that this helps to also build a little resentment between him and David. As David being so buttoned up, he just looks at it as an embarrassment of wondering why is his cousin this way? Why does he have to be just so open with everything humanly possible? And that's what makes this an interesting road trip film, is not just because it's two cousins and not because the two cousins are opposite of each other. It's the other group of characters that you add into this, down to them having a tour guide and Benji questioning the tour guide's knowledge of what he's doing, and David attempting to stick up for the tour guide, and then the tour guide coming back and telling Benji, you're right, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm happy that you actually did this. You're going to make me better at my job. But at the whole time, you feel like it's something simmering underneath Benji. And as the film progresses, we do understand the personal challenges that Benji had to go through, or is currently going through in the film, versus David, who tends to be completely in line with the way his life should work. And then that's when we get the dynamics of understanding that these two cousins who love each other, their relationship has kind of fallen apart because life has taken them in two completely different directions. That doesn't mean one direction is better than the other one, but it needs to pay close attention to exactly that form of separation. As we see Benji is struggling with so many different things, down to relationships with the family. And when we see this, and it breaks out in a dinner scene, which is fantastic, when you just see these two actors, amazing actors, playing off one another. And the whole time Jesse's directing it. And when you normally get a film directed by an actor, one thing they do amazingly well is understanding when to pull back on cam, when to shoot it perfectly, when an actor, it feels like it's going off on the rails a little bit, but understanding if I give him the latitude to do so, I'm going to get something great out of it. And that's what happens in this film, as these two performances are absolutely amazing. But Kieran Culkin's performance as Benji is one of the best supporting performances this year. Like, Benji just has everything humanly possible. If you've seen him in Succession, it's literally the complete opposite of what you saw him do in Succession here. And again, that's what makes it so endearing. That's what makes it so great, is that Benji's just playing off of everything David has. Benji is like David's insecurities personified. And it makes it amazing that they decide to portray it that way, because we get to see when David's uptight, that Benji's not. When David's worried about everything, Benji's not. It's always polar opposite of it. It comes across as Benji being a mirror of reflection for David. And that's highly important here. And Jesse behind the camera, I think, fully understood that. And he shot it in that way so the audience can understand, as you're watching this film, just how amazing that is to set up here. A Real Pain is not an easy film to watch. It's not the easiest subject matter for a lot of people, but it's thoroughly entertaining. It's on the cusp of being a dark comedy, because some of the things that happen here, you really gotta be comfortable with yourself to even laugh at them. But that's why it's called A Real Pain, as we are still dealing with two cousins who are dealing with their family dynamic and the pain that comes along with it. And we get to see it on Front Street here, as Jesse does an amazing job of painting this picture for you to see. So, A Real Pain, which I want to say it comes out officially in theaters on November the 11th. So check it out. Check out your local cinema to try to catch it when it does drop. Out of a possible A to F scale, I am giving A Real Pain an A-. This is a thoroughly enjoyable film. It's not the easiest film to get through. And if you also have a family dynamic that you need to work on, probably going to bring that to the surface here, because Jesse does an amazing job at pinpointing those issues in this film. And then it feels like he just let Kieran go off and put together one of the best performances you're going to see on film this year. Like, if you don't go for any other reason, go to check out his performance. I think you'll be blown away, as much as I was blown away in January when I went to go see this film. And I recently saw it again at the Chicago International Film Festival, and I was still blown away. Like, it's masterful what he puts on screen here. So please check it out again when it drops. I think it drops everywhere November the 11th. This has been another Big Gold Belt movie review. Peace, people.